Welcome back to An Athlete's Journey. Pretty much we got a new guest here today, a person that I just recently met, but it was a real good guy, a person that I'm looking forward to hear his story. And once you hear it, you will be definitely interested in him, the person, because his story and what he does is just perfect for former athletes, current athletes, future athletes. You know, it needs to be told, and definitely needs to be heard by the masses. So I definitely wanted to get him, on my show so I can, introduce him and, just get him to everybody. More people, the better. But go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? I appreciate you, my man. Invite me on this platform. My name is Nick. My government name is Nicholas, but, if I hear that, I look over my shoulder thinking my mom's calling me. I'm Nick, man. I appreciate it, man. Former athlete, now, business individual trying to just inspire people and just, bridge that gap between athlete and person and not have it separate. So again, man, thank you for this opportunity. It's much needed, and, hope to just give that extra push to somebody that actually needs it and equip them with the right information. So man, this is awesome.
No, thank you. Like I said, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And like I said, once I heard your story, I was just like, man, I got to get him on the show, man, because so many people need to hear what he's doing. So many people need to hear what you're doing. Like you said, like not only athletes, but just men in general.
Right.
Men in general need to hear hear what you're doing and hear your story. So we're gonna get right into it. How did your journey into football start?
It started as a young individual. My man, my uncle, he was a coach for this team in East Palo Alto in the Bay Area called the Batillero Warriors. He was the coach, and I was about 8, 9 years old, not really of age to play with the guys. And so he let me be the mascot. So I had the helmet, the shoulder pads, the pants came down to my ankles. I was a football player in my mind, but I was a mascot. I was about yay high. The other cats was like 10 to 12 years old. So I was a little smaller dude out there, the mascot. Had everything on, ready to go. That's my first introduction into like real organized sports. I played two-hand touch with my uncles in the street. We had this one game called Over the Top. It was wild, man. We had some wild games back there. It was Over the Top. So basically what it is I'm at the end of the hallway. My uncle's in the middle of the hallway, and I have to try to get around them. But over the top, it's a big pillow. I got to jump over the pillow like a Superman, and then obviously they gonna, hem me up. And it was some times I went through the wall, underneath them. It was crazy, but that was my introduction to sports, man. Over the top and being a mascot for the football team.
Okay, right.
Over
the top sounds crucial.
Yeah, no. It was wild, man.
All right. Was there any other sports that you were interested in growing up?
Yeah, my first actual sport that I played was baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I was real live in baseball, man. We had the Negro Leagues, man, back in the day. I grew up in inner city, so it's predominantly Black and Mexican. And so we had the Negro Leagues. And so baseball was my first love. Ricky Henderson was my favorite player.
Mm-hmm.
Him stealing all the bases. And, I went from baseball from 5th grade all the way into 8th grade. And, I switched schools. Once you play baseball, you go from predominantly the Negro Leagues. And I went to this league in Palo Alto, which is a neighboring city next to East Palo Alto. And it was a bunch of white dudes, right? So I switched schools, and, a couple of my buddies were like, man, what you doing playing baseball? We play basketball. So it was like, I was really good at baseball, but my buddies I was hanging out with, they didn't play baseball. Every time I tried to bring a bat around, they were like, man, here, hit the basketball. So I kind of got peer pressured into playing basketball. I wasn't even good at basketball, though. I wasn't even good, so I just wanted to be around the buddies. And so I kind of allowed baseball to take a back seat. But, in hindsight, I'm like, bro, you should have stayed with baseball,
So, yeah, I feel the same way. I always feel like, when I was growing up, man, I played, basketball, football till I got hit. I was tall. I was taller than kids. So I played wide receiver. and then one of the kids hit me low in my legs. Oh, okay,
Right.
basketball it is.
Basketball, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Baseball, I could have stayed, I should have stayed with, but my dad was like, you need to focus on one sport. I'm tired of you I'm tired of driving you everywhere, all these different sports. Focus on basketball. So pretty much,
man.
That was the case, So
we had to make life decisions at 10 and 12 years old.
Yeah, you ain't gonna play all sports. I'm gonna force you to play one.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? So what high school did you attend when you
Man, believe it or not, bro. So it was a neighboring school, and a lot of my friends went to called Menlo Atherton, right? But I also had some other friends who went to St. Francis. It was a private school in Mountain View, and believe it or not, two mutual friends, Craig, and we went to school together in high school. Misha, she went to St. Francis High School as well too. And so it was a real unique experience because obviously I came from the more inner city, right? More Blacks, Mexicans, Polynesians, until now a whole new cultural shock into predominantly, financially wealthy individuals, that pretty much didn't look like me, and it was probably a handful of individuals that was there that came from my neighborhood, but that was my introduction to, a different culture, a different way of life. And so it was a unique experience. I had a great time, went through my trials there, because I was the first graduating class of the school I went to in 8th grade, and entering to high school, teachers are expecting you to write papers, do research. Hey, all we had to do was turn homework in. And we were good, so that transition of really understanding what it was like to become a student, study, it took me about a year. So after my freshman year, when they almost kicked me out, because I had like a 1.7 GPA, I was struggling, man. I was struggling, and that's when the sense of being self-reliant was bad, because you hold all of that frustration in because you don't know how to direct it. And so I internalized a lot of stuff because, I was afraid to reach out because I didn't want to look like the poor kid from East Palo Alto, didn't have a computer. I asked for help. Now, all of a sudden, are you dummy? You a retard now?
Yeah.
You know how that stigma goes when you try to ask for help as a young individual. And now, trying to figure out, like, how do I become a better student? But once I realized and got some assistance from the teacher, they saw maybe some areas in which I was struggling in, and trying to figure out, okay, well, like, it's not like he's not a smart person. He just needs some help and guidance and pointing him in a direction. But once I was able to figure out that, it was cool, man.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What would you say your most memorable moment in high school was?
Man, my most memorable moment, tell you the truth, in high school was just realizing that I could, pursue, athletics at the collegiate level, because you hear people talk about it all the time. I don't play college sports. All right, I guess that's like the thing to do. Nobody really in your family has went to a 4-year school to play college. And so once I got some letters, some coaches called the house and they came by, and I was like, this is really finna happen. That was a wonderful experience for me. Just seeing my parents who didn't have the opportunity to go to college, because they had to get into the workforce, and just seeing their smile on their face, knowing that their kid was like, it was almost as though like they were living through me. And I just embraced every bit of it and just went on for it. And so that was like the high point of my high school career, was just knowing that I can play, getting the opportunity to do it, and then showcasing it.
Okay. So what was your first year of college like? And what college did you go to too?
Right. I went to Fresno State.
Okay.
I went to Fresno State, the Bulldogs.
All right.
That was a unique experience in itself too, because being the first individual in my immediate family to go to college away, that was the first time I spent a summer. We went to Summer Bridge. I usually be at the house, and between a 10 to 15-mile radius, I can still come back home.
Right.
Now I'm going to college, so now I'm away from mom and dad, away from my friends. And I was like, what did I sign up for? we had to practice. At that time, NCAA rules were nowhere near like they are now. We went 3-a-day practices in the hot heat of Fresno. And I called back to the house. I was like, Mom, hey, I think I made a poor decision. I think I'm going to come back home. She was like, boy, no, you ain't going to come back home. They finna pay for you to go to college. You got to stay up there. And, so I had a heart-to-heart talk with my moms. And luckily, man, I was able to stick it out. After that freshman year, I redshirted and kind of had some success within the redshirt year. And, I finally was able to hit my stride and realize what I was there to do. And I felt more comfortable within who I was as an individual, knowing that everything was going to be okay. I wasn't going to get beat up or, hazed or, nothing tragic was going to happen, because you think the worst when you're away from your family. You're not really sure what to expect, especially when you're sheltered, So that freshman year was kind of, it was a struggle, but at the most point, I'm glad I experienced that redshirt year, and it allowed me to step into, my ultimate decision was, continue to go full blast with it.
Okay. Well, no, like I was saying, like that you actually answered the next question, because it was like, what's the hardest thing about, your college, being in college from high school? What's the biggest difference?
Yeah, man. To piggyback on that, man, the hardest thing was the reality of knowing that you can play.
Yeah.
But then someone telling you have to wait so you can play. Yeah. So those are two things that you really have to come to grips with. Like, you seeing the individuals that are playing out there, and they're older, stronger, but in your mind, you're like, I'm a baller, but then the coach saying, you know what, hey, we don't need you right now. So just having to sit with that and like figure out what that actually means. Yeah. That was probably the toughest decision right there, but just a decision that was out of my hands. They were like, hey, you know what, we're going to give you a scholarship, but we're going to redshirt you this year. And so once you get past that, it's like, okay, well, I'm redshirting, but that don't mean I can't practice. And so I made a point every single day in practice, man, that was my game. And I made that an emphasis to, ultimately lead me to get the Scout Team Player of the Year. That was a big award for the red shirts. And I was like, no, I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna make them realize like, yo, should I have played him? But ultimately, yeah, in football, it's a lot different. I'm not really sure how it's in basketball, but I can only imagine, coming in as a freshman, it's gonna be some cats that's you thinking you were good in high school, you're averaging 20. Next thing you know, you take 2 dribbles and you can't shoot, you can't get the ball off. It's the same thing in football, man. You think you can manhandle somebody. Next thing you know, somebody just put you in your back. You're like, oh, this is a different game here.
No, I learned my lesson in practice, obviously, at UCLA. Mm-hmm. I come in, we was the number 1 recruiting class in the country. Me, Baron Davis, Earl Watson, Billy Knight, okay. Obviously, Baron is the sought after one, right. Being the number 1 guard in the country. Earl, Kansas City, they both play in the NBA. But I went against the NBA guy, J.R. Henderson. He was like an All-American. And when I tell you, he used to go to work on me. Yeah. I couldn't stop him. He would, he was bigger. I thought I was strong, but he would catch it, elbow, dunk, spin, dunk, jump. I'm like, God, I can't stop this guy. He was like, come on, Rook, and going against him every day in practice, every day was just like, my learning, I don't know what to say, my learning curve. Yeah. I didn't think anybody was better than him in college, my first year in college. And we played, Antoine Jameson and Vince Carter in North Carolina. We played Mike Bibby at Arizona. We played Tractor Trailer at Michigan. We played Duke. We played Kentucky. So, J.R. Henderson, like I said, he was like unstoppable. I remember that cat. Yeah, I remember that cat. I remember watching him. Unstoppable. I know he's from Bakersfield, but he was unstoppable in college my first year. I was just like, man, I can't guard this dude. Right.
He's like, this is something else. This is real college basketball.
This is real. This is real.
This is real.
Like I said, we like he was, like I said, he everything. He could do everything, All right. Well, you said you started getting some good progression after your redshirt year. What was your greatest triumph in college?
my greatest triumph in college was actually, throughout my redshirt year, I knew I wanted to play, and I ended up getting hurt. I shattered my thumb, and I had to wear this humongous, cast. I was probably one of the first individuals that played football college at the college level with a huge cast. It was massive. And I was, running around, like my arm was sore because it weighed 20 more pounds than my other arm, so just seeing myself actually get out there and producing and seeing that, because you get this like idea of like these bigger schools like Oregon, Nebraska, Michigan State, these cats are like going to be way better than you. Because they go to these schools. But then when you actually play against these guys, you're like, wait a minute. Like, okay, they may be taller, they may be faster a little at certain positions, though, but for the most part, I mean, they put on their pants just like I put on my pants, So once you get out there and compete and see like, I could have been doing this a long time ago. Like, what was I was holding myself back mentally, trying to figure out like, how did you add up to, this bigger school coming from Fresno and not realizing like, we got athletes here. It's like they got athletes there. It's just your whole mentality of looking at it is a little bit skewed.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. That's how I felt when I was overseas, when I would see a guy making $30,000 and I'd be making like 7 or 8.
Right.
Like, how are you making $30,000? I'm making 7. So yeah, I know I got you on that one. I definitely understand you on that one. What was the biggest lesson that you learned, in college?
The biggest lesson that I learned, I would say, now looking back, man, and just figuring out like what it takes to be successful, is understanding how to utilize my time, man.
Yeah.
In college, you have a lot of free time, and at that time, Madden was out. We had the James Bond, so
I remember that. I remember the both of those.
Man, we were playing James Bond after practice, shooting each other down and going from James Bond to practice, going to school. Really wasn't structured as far as like taking it serious. You only took it serious when you went on the field. You lifted weights, you went in there, and every so often, you get a couple of guys that are really strong, or you get a strength coach that was like, hey man, I need to be serious in here. So we had a couple of battles in between who was the strongest, who can run the fastest 40 at each position, but really understanding what it was to like be a real professional in the collegiate level, how to structure your time and be accountable for what you do that really is going to be impactful on your success or the lack of success that you don't have, and so it really paid a big difference once I had to wait till my senior year to figure this out. Right. But by that time, once you kind of put some things together, it's almost as if like you're playing catch up, to get back to where you were supposed to be and even higher. So just understanding that time is of essence and utilize it correctly.
No, definitely agree with you on that. Going to high school, I was under lock and thumb by my dad. So learning how to manage time was big in college, manage what you're supposed to do. Like you said, I remember James Bond and Madden, and back then it was NCAA college football.
NCAA,
I played. Could nobody see me with my air raid offense? I would spread you out.
Man, hey, there was some guys that on team that they were so in tune to it. They knew all the intricacies of like which team was better at this position. And like you said, the air raid, you think you're going to come with Miami or something. They come back with some team that, like, how you beat me with this team? They garbage.
Texas Tech was always the team because like they would play the air raid. They would have, they had all bunch of receivers. It was all like an 80.
Yeah.
No, definitely, man, definitely. So after college, you do your years, your 5 years. What happens next?
Man, to tell you the truth, I thought I was gonna get drafted, bro. I had a whole cool career. Draft day come, mom's throw a party. Yeah. Everybody come to the house. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna go. I got invited to the combine, went to the combine and played in the East-West Shrine game. And, I was like, yo, this is serious. Yeah, I'm gonna go,
Right.
Had some good tidbits of individuals telling me like, yo, possibly 3rd, 4th round. And man, that draft day came 7th round, they call, And man, this is crazy. I don't know if I told anybody this story. You know, the Cincinnati Bengals call.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was hot. Man, I saw the phone ring. Man, I ain't pick it, man. But man, y'all should have picked me a couple of picks ago. That was wild, huh? Yeah. Now I look back on it. They called, man. The Cincinnati Bengals actually called, bro. I let the phone just go to like they didn't call no more, and it said dun 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 dun. They picked another defensive end. You know, so yeah, it was wild. And so after the draft was over, free agency, I got some calls, and you know, I had the opportunity to go to Tennessee with the Titans. You know, up with McNair and Eddie George and you know Javon Curse at that time. So it was pretty nice.
Right.
Spent the summer there, and then ultimately ended up finishing my career with the St. Louis Rams.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, so you was about to get drafted. It was like, man, y'all should have picked me in the second round. I ain't picking up the phone.
I was so mad, man, because one, it was the embarrassment of having people over there and nothing happened.
Right.
Having people party, food, laugh. And of course they were there to support, right? And so regardless of how they got drafted or not, they would have still been there. But again, you playing the scenario in your head of what their expectation is, and now you have to explain to them you ain't get drafted. Now you got to sit with like, yo, I thought I was, but I guess I'm not that, you know, good. And so I had to sit with that. I didn't answer the phone, and so I was like, I'm good, man. You know, I'm gonna make it happen this way. You know, and you know, God blessed me with 3 years, and you know, I was able to find some good relationships and learn about being a professional. And you know, it's a life. It's totally different than college. And I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah,
you know, so
no, definitely. So you did 3 years, obviously playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
After your 3 years, you know, you started to make that transition.
Right.
So, based on your experience of playing in the NFL for those 3 years, what would be the best advice for the next generation of, you know, people like yourself?
Well, individuals who are looking to pursue their career in any athletics, whether NFL or basketball, man, and especially NFL, it's not going to last for long. You have to treat it as a business. The job itself of playing football as a business, but also treat yourself as a business. Like, how do you operate individually, and what you put out there, that's what you represent. You know, you represent yourself and how you structure your day and how you care for your body and what it takes to be a professional. Like, that's important, you know, because ultimately you can take those skill sets with you after you decide to stop playing.
That makes sense, man. That makes sense. So after those 3 years, did you know it was over? Did you know, like, you know, how did it end?
So man, it's wild. See, I had some wild stuff, man, before the draft even started. During the course of me playing those 3 years.
Yep.
So I made a transition from I played defensive end at St. Louis.
Okay.
And they drafted a defensive end from Georgia Tech.
Okay.
And we had Leonard Little at the time and Grant Wistrom, you know, some veterans. And I was like, yo, like, well, if they drafted the end, that means it's 1, 2. And I was like, oh, I started seeing my reps go down in my mind. And then he comes to practice. We started doing some OTAs, training.
Right.
And I was like, man, well, I used to get some reps, but now all of a sudden, I'm not getting no reps. You know, so I was like, this ain't looking too cool. And by the grace of God, man, I had that, like I said, I played baseball, basketball. I just ran up and down the court in basketball. You know, like I said, I got a couple of rebounds, but I switched to offense. So I played tight end.
Okay.
Yeah, so I played tight end and was able to relearn a whole new playbook and position and just trying to figure that part out, because on defense, you just line up and go.
Right.
Offense, you kind of like think, no, you know, so you had to put all those components together. So once I figured that part out, played offense, played tight end. Training camp is about to end. Well, OT is about to end, going into the summer, and then you come back for summer workouts for training camp. I made about 99% of the practices. The day, I missed one day, the last day. I missed the last day of OTA practice. And it wasn't everybody. It was just like some rookies. maybe first 1 or 2 year veterans, and so it was pretty much they were all rookies basically.
Yeah.
Even though you had 1 or 2 years, you're still a rookie regardless. I don't care.
Right.
They were still trying to get a roster spot too. I missed 1 day of practice. I'm good. I've been 99%. They got the poster on the wall. I got my name on there, 99% club. I'm doing good. I'm coming back up in the ball because I was smashing people in the OTAs.
Mm-hmm.
Got a good review from the coaching staff, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna come back summer. I'm gonna give me the spot." I missed 1 day of practice, man. Go home, work out, chill with family. Come back for summer training camp. I come back a day early. Training camp started on Tuesday. I come back on Monday. I got cut that Monday.
What?
Yeah, it was wild. And I rewinded. I was like, "Oh, I missed 1 day before I left. I got cut 1 day before the training camp." And I was like, nobody else has to tell you why exactly you got cut. You know exactly why you got cut. Right. You did it to yourself, and I had to live with that. A memory I would never forget. But ultimately, once I got released, had a couple of tryouts with the Broncos and the Raiders, and I had the opportunity to go play for the Centurions, and we were in training camp in Florida, meeting some guys I've never met before, and just getting acclimated. And I was like, man, I think it's something else out there, that God wanted me to do. And at that time, it was like, do you really want to do that? I had a son, and playing. I was in St. Louis. They were in California. It wasn't like I got to see them on a consistent basis. And so me going to Florida again, I was like, something kept pulling me in my mind. Like, you sure you want to do this? And I was talking to myself like, no, I want, I want to be a player. I want to prove that I can play. But then something was telling me like, I'm trying to point you in a different direction, but you're not really trying to hear me. And then ultimately I was like, you know what? I walked in and was like, "Hey, coach, I think I want to quit. Can I get a plane ticket back to the house?" And he was like, "What? We flew you all the way out here?" And I'm thinking like, bro, like you act like I knew that this was going to happen to me. Like I had these thoughts. I thought I was going to play, but ultimately, God was moving me in a different direction. I just didn't recognize it at that time.
So that's when you knew it. That's when you knew it was time to kind of hang it up. When it was like, okay. I was wondering, like,
Yeah, because it wasn't like I wasn't having success. I was balling out there. Like I can tell you, like when I was balling, when I was sucking, but I was wrecking shop out there. So I was like, I'm gonna go over here and kill this NFL Europe. And so I was like, man, what should I do? So I contemplating like, is this the right thing to do? And it was nights, but I just like stood up and I was like, man, all right, regardless of what they say, I'm gonna go do it. And we are today.
Right. Man, that's crazy, man. That's a heck of a story.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so you're back home.
Right.
After you, pretty much, hang it up. What was your transition like, from trying to figure out, how old are you at this time?
I was 25.
Wow.
I was 25 at that time.
And you got to make a transition from,
right.
athlete to whatever's next.
Yeah.
So how was that? How was that?
That was tough. That's when I started the initial process of becoming who I am today. It took years in between that because I'm 41 now. And so it took years for me to get to this point, but that was the initial phase. 25 years old, you're still in your prime, you're still working out. I weigh the same now as I did then, but obviously I was a lot younger and, I was a lot stronger, but sitting there like, seeing cats that you play with and they're still in the league, you're like, man, this dude was garbage then, and now you're playing the comparison game. Like, what did he do? What did I do? You're starting to feel sorry for yourself and, trying to figure out what job do you do? So now you're like, well, do I go back to school? Don't I go back to school? How do you fill out a resume now? Because you don't think about these things, when you're playing. You don't think about what to leave out on a resume, what to put on a resume, who to turn it in. I didn't even have a computer at that time. I was just living in an apartment and trying to figure out like what's my next move, and hopefully a phone call would come. The phone calls didn't come, and so that really allowed reality to sit in. Like, yo, like this is it. You can call your agent, you can try to fire him. I mean, you can try to get another agent, but ultimately, like, this is going to be what you make of it. And so it was tough, man. Just sitting with that reality, because that whole identity of becoming an NFL player that's who I thought I actually was. Like, that's what I lived up to, but now to actually not see it happen in the way that I wanted it to happen, that took some real humbling, soul searching at that time. And, it was tough. I picked up drinking, that was the start of what led to me becoming a full-fledged alcoholic, later in my life, but those were the beginning stages in its infancy form of self-internalizing, not knowing how to process, not knowing how to reach out, not knowing how to navigate this new world that you hear about it, but you don't think it's going to happen to you until you're actually swimming in the deep end. And now you're trying to figure out, oh, anybody going to help me? Because when you're an athlete, you had people, oh, do this, do that. But now, after the, once the whistle stops blowing and, you're not in the limelight or the league anymore, now you're like, you're just a regular person.
No, man, can I tell you, man, that your whole story, like, it sounds like eerily similar to mine, granted, I played a little bit longer, but like in the middle of my 10 years, I missed a year because I got hurt. I had a stress fracture in both my shins around the same age, around 26. 25, I actually had surgery, and then they put a steel rod in my plate, rod in my leg, and I came back early because the team was like pressuring me to get back. And after that, like I played the rest of that year. I say I missed like 3 months, 4 months. Then I played the rest of that year, and then I played another year, and then they just kept hurting, and I overcompensated, and that my other shin needed surgery. So after that, I was like, okay, they took out the plate. Took out the rod. They put 2 plates in both my shins.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I rehab. And then I want to say like 2 weeks before I signed the contract, I'm playing pickup just to get in shape. I get kicked in the shin, and it cracks my shin all the way down to the basically almost cracks it in half.
Wow.
Yeah, so like the doctor's like, well, we can't give you surgery because you already had it, So the only thing you got to do is just wait till the bone heals. And I was like, how long is that going to take? She said 4 to 8 months. I said, 4 to 8. God, the season just started. You know what I'm saying?
Just started. Yeah. What you talking about?
What are you talking about? Like I'm about to literally go in 2 weeks. He was like, unless the team is going to take you hurt, you ain't going nowhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. That was like I was about 26, 27 at the time.
Right.
And luckily, like I said, the money just wasn't the same, but I did get a chance to play.
Right.
But after I retired, like you said, it was the drinking, just everybody wonder how athletes become, getting the substance abuse or drinking the drugs, whatever.
Right.
It's because that high, that professional athlete, because we're at that 0.00% of making it. And after it's that drug that we don't know how to, there's nothing to, satisfy it.
Yeah. It's always like you need that fix to feel like normal. And for me, it was a process of, on the weekend, this is what we do, this is how we hang out, socialize. And it became a normalcy for me. It was my ability to function. I came more alive, in my mind, I thought, but ultimately I was just suppressing feelings of not knowing how to, understand who I was at that time, not trying to figure out, like, are you a father? You never really had that, your biological father in my life. I had, my stepfather who did an amazing job, but there was still some unanswered questions that I had that I wasn't able to answer or have answered because my dad passed away. And so I, went to a great friend, which became alcohol. It really consoled me at that time of not knowing how to reach out, not knowing what it was going to look like, and just trying to figure a lot of stuff out. And a lot of things were resurfacing in my mind. I was playing them over, coming up with my own scenarios. Eventually, it led to me, ultimately almost ended my life, because of my inability to get a grip of, what was impacting me and stepping away from what I thought was pleasure, but ultimately was leading me down a different path.
Wow, man, deep. Like I said, man, super deep. Okay, so what turned your life around? What was your passion that you found that gave you grace,
Yeah. And so it happened in July, man, of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with the Department of Corrections. I was a correctional officer at San Quentin State Prison, for
You
13
was a
years.
correction officer at San Quentin?
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I started that in '08. I just recently retired after 13 years. And so in 2017, that was full-fledged. I was just getting in the early stage of getting a divorce, just trying to figure out, how do you navigate this thing? Because I had a lot of things that were bottled up, and the alcohol just soothed it, made me feel better. I didn't even have to process it, because I knew I would go to work, come home, get something to drink. And so that became my routine. I'd go to work, come home, get something to drink, and I didn't even have to think. I just kind of like shut off. And so what ultimately happened was, I got up one day and went to work, and I was like, yo, like, why am I sweating? Like, and I went to the bath and I was just dripping with sweat. And I was like, yo, if I can see it, I know everybody else can see it, but I came in there smelling like a whole brewery, man. I used to do the 750, the big boys a day, like one a day, like $15 a day, just going crazy. And one day, man, I was in my mom's house on the floor. My daughter, she was about she was about 6 at that time. And so I just remember me being on the floor, like sick as a dog, man. And she's coming over to console me. And I couldn't like even think. I knew it was her because I can feel her small hands. And I was like, I'll come play with you later. And I just knocked out, and my mom took me to the hospital. It was a crazy ride, because I was just going in and out of pains of just trying to figure out, like, man, fine, just stop at the liquor store right here. I know what would make me feel better. And she was like, no, we're gonna get you to the emergency room. And so we ended up going to the emergency room. I go into a room, and the nurse comes in, and she's like, is this your daughter? Because it was just 3 of us, my mom, me, and my daughter. And she goes in to tell me the story about how, her father was alcoholic, and, she had this horrible relationship with her father, but just the other guys that she came into contact with because of that lack of guidance. And she was like, no, you don't want this for her. And I just sit there like, oh man, I guess I don't, because she's telling me the story. I'm seeing her, mom's crying, and a doctor comes in, man, a Black doctor. He wasn't my doctor. I had another doctor that he was literally walking in with the pamphlet, like, are you Mr. Burley? And the Black dude come in and was like, I got this. He sent my guy out. He shuts the curtain. It was like, shh. I'm sitting there like, oh man, what's gonna happen? What are you doing with your life? And I was like, I don't really know, And he was like, this is your family right here. You have people here who are concerned about you. You have a young daughter. If you die right now, how would she benefit from it? She's gonna come up living, having a whole bunch of questions that aren't gonna get answered. She's gonna get with individuals who she thinks has her best interest, and she's gonna get used. I see it countless and countless times. Every time somebody comes in here, same story. I'm telling you, because you look like me, you need to change. And from that day on, I made a decision like, yo, I talked to God. I was like, hey, check this out. If you allow me to survive this, I'll do everything in my power to learn, to empower myself, to trust you more with my life instead of trying to put my hands on things and manipulate the outcome, to trust you more, and I'm ready to go. So from that day on, in the hospital, I made a complete turn and been full pedal to the metal ever since.
Man, that's a straight blessing, man. I tell you that. It's a straight blessing. I tell you, living in certain situations and kind of going through certain stuff, it's like amazing to hear people like yourself who go through similar situations. I never had to go to the hospital or anything like that, but I remember one day I was full discretion, first time I've ever said this on air, I was a security guard, and I remember, my shift was like, I don't know, like 11 to 6. And I usually would, all right, 11 to 6 or 11 to 7, I would leave at like 6, go get a drink, then go home, and then clean myself up, whatever, put some spray or whatever in my mouth. And I remember like one day I was just sitting drinking and I'm just like, damn, is this it for me? Like, is this really it? I had gained a lot of weight. I had, just lost myself, and I was just like, man, I don't want this to be the end of me,
Right.
And so like after that, the next day, that same day, I got a call from like Enterprise at the time. And they basically was like, we want to hire you, and I quit that security job that morning.
That morning, it was like,
I'm good. And I will never, ever, ever come back. She was like, well, if you quit, you won't never ever come back. Good. Burn these clothes and you will never see me again. You'll never see me again.
I didn't want him in the first place.
I didn't want him in the first place. And so, after that, I started getting like, I was with them and then another job, kind of better jobs to the one I'm with now. And man, it's been a crazy ride ever since retirement, both good and bad. So it's like I said, it's been a blessing, definitely been a blessing to make it where I'm at. It might have cost me, my ex-fiance, but that's okay. I think it's a situation where I've continued to grow myself.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. And I got up to 300 pounds, man. Like I was fat, eating all kind of crazy stuff. And so prior to the show, we were talking about, me making that transition from eating a regular, American diet to now I'm a vegetarian. And so I was taking high blood pressure pills, drinking crazy and eating crazy. So I had like the trifecta of like ultimately, you finna die. So I had everything. I was like at 99 at every level. So I was like, hey man, this is what I'm finna do. I was like, hey, I'm finna stop taking the blood pressure medication. I'm finna become a vegetarian, and I'm finna stop drinking. The guy was like, all right, you serious? But it was horrible. It was horrible because when you become a full-fledged alcoholic, your body gets used to that substance to try to function. And so by not drinking, I had pains. It was like my mobility was questionable, so I had to relearn how to balance myself without that extra fluid that was ultimately killing myself. And so once I was able to understand what the food does to you and how it attacks your overall ability to live and survive, on top of that, why was I taking the blood pressure pills? It was just masking a Band-Aid over an underlying root problem that was ultimately the reason why I have a high blood pressure. It was I was eating bad food, plus drinking. You know what I mean? So once I was able to put those 2 and 3 things together, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna ride this out. Here we are, man. 4 years clean. No alcohol. That was my drug of choice, was alcohol. Vegetarian, man, and I'm healthy, man. I'm at a great weight. I was at my college weight, so I'm living a good life, man. Thank God, man.
No, definitely a blessing, man. Definitely a blessing. Last question for you. at every point, like I said, of our life, career, we get to low points. And when you were at your low point, you kind of already explained it. I think I know the answer, because you talked about, your daughter and, just what you were doing. How did you get out of it? But pretty much, like I said, I think you answered the question already, with you just talked to God and then like you just changed your life, which is amazing, man. So like I said, your journey is crazy. Like I said, you're the first professional football dude who said, "Nah, on my draft day, no."
I was like, no, man. That's how you go down in history, man.
I gotta be, man. I gotta be straight up. So, like I said, I want to say thank you, Nick, man. I appreciate you coming on your show, man. Coming on my show, man. Like I said, I've learning so much. Like, man, your story is like a mirror or something. You know what I'm saying? Like it's real, like a mirror to me. Right. Well, like I said, give the fans where they can reach you out, what you're doing now, everything. Just go ahead.
Yeah, so if you're on Instagram, man, my name is Nicholas Burley 1. My full government name, Nicholas with a H, not a K, NICHOLAS Burley 1. My email is nburley1@gmail.com. And pretty much, what I'm involved in now, I worked with Department of Corrections at San Quentin State Prison for 13 years. And throughout that 13 years, that last 4 years from 2017 until now, I had a change of direction. God was really working inside me, trying to build me up to the person that I am now. And, I was like, hey, like you wanted to coach. I dabbled into, coaching athletics. And I was like, no, there's a bigger purpose for you. It's not just coaching athletics. And I started to realize like, I'm not the only person who have experienced this. I know if I decide to put this out there and I started doing each individual Instagram post about my journey through recovery, so I started with day 1 and, it got some really cool likes. And at first I was there was some hesitancy there, because you don't really know the feedback as far as the department and what the job is going to, think. But ultimately, as time went on, I started to become more comfortable about it. Then I started to learn more about who I was as an individual, what my likes and dislikes were, what led me to drink, and what was the ultimate goal of me trying to recover and to become the person I am now. And now I'm involved with helping people, athletes, businesses, teams, just overall personal development on how to make that transition in life and not allow it to, be this disclaimer of like, of uncertainty. Like there's a lot of uncertainty that we live with on a day-to-day basis, but we normalize it and make it become our own, but not realizing like, there's a bigger meaning besides you just going to work and collecting a check. And I want to be as impactful as I can in the space that I'm allowed to be, and hopefully allow somebody to meet with them where they're at and be like, hey, you know what? I need to make some changes within myself. That's because I know it's going to impact my family. Once I be able to make that change, who else can I impact? Who else can I help? Who else can I get past that hurdle of becoming the person they need to become?
Nah, man, I hear you. But like I said, I think that like what you talking about, your journey, your story, your journey needs to be told to the masses. And a lot of people can use that, words of affirmation, man. It's just a big thing. I think you making it to the mountaintop of the NFL is like a good life lesson. Like you can make it to the top and still be, hit the bottom and then raise back up, It's always like, it's not how hard you get hit, is if you keep getting up and you're moving forward,
Oh yeah. It's about evolution, man. Progress, man. No one ever reaches the pinnacle. It's always about progression, because if you have your eyes set on being perfect, you're gonna always fail, so it's always improvement. I have a thing, being 1-0 today, can I win today? And it comes from being in the AA program and just learning how to win the day. And so if I know I can put some pieces together, put a good plan together, if I win today, I don't need to worry about what's gonna happen next week, next month, because no one knows. Why do I need to put that much pressure on myself and just enjoy the experience that God's allowed me to have today and make the best of that?
No, but definitely agree with you. Well, I want to say thank you again for listening to Travis Reed and Athlete's Journey. Like I said, please like, share, and subscribe. You know, definitely, like I said, my boy Nick, his story is like just off the chain, man. It's like looking into a mirror, just in a different kind of mirror, man. Like, I really appreciate you coming on, Nick, to the show and giving the world your knowledge, man. Like I said, hopefully get you back on here again.
Oh yeah, man, appreciate it. Thank you again for this, allowing us for this platform, man. And I know this going to feed a lot of people, depending on what stage you're at in life, man. Anybody can take away some good knowledge and put it to work in their life. So thank you again, man. Appreciate it.
No problem, Nick. Like I said, I appreciate it. Thank you. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, and Athlete's Journey on the Believe Network. Like I said, we'll see you again real soon.
Yes, sir.